NBA, we're going to start in Boston, where things remain up in the air with Jaylen Brown. Wendy, what are you hearing about what's going on with Brown and the Celtics?
Well, when the pursuit of Giannis Antetokounmpo last week failed, the expectation was that the Celtics would have a bespoke trade conversation with Jaylen Brown, targeting a couple of teams where they liked the possible trade. And, Joe, it's not gone that way. The Celtics have ended up canvassing a large part of the league, in some cases, from what I am told, actually actively making offers involving Brown, not receiving offers. When you have a valuable asset, you usually sit back and receive. And that has left the impression that they're searching a little bit, as is the fact that they've been looking for large volumes of draft picks in return for Brown, just days after looking for a superstar player. So right now, I do think the Celtics are searching a little bit, and that has left some uncertainty. It has even raised the possibility that they would retreat totally and try to repair the relationship with Jaylen Brown. There's one way to do. It would be to give him a contract extension next month and a huge amount of money. That said, I do not think that situation is over. I still think they're looking, and I still think he could be traded.
I want to bring in Tim and Vince in just a second, but does Boston need to trade Brown today before the start of free agency?
No. Who would say that? They got... It's June 30th or whatever, June, and it doesn't matter. There's no deadline.
All right, Tim, slide on in here. Is there still a market out there for Brown? And if so, how robust do you think it is after everything we've just watched the last few weeks?
I mean, probably not at the price point that the Celtics have been trying to get. And look, Jaylen Brown's value is a very polarizing topic within the league and within the NBA community. The simple fact of the matter is this is a proven winner, a recent finals MVP, but the analytics-driven front offices would contend that he is overpaid on a supermax contract. But here the Celtics are. This is a guy in his prime, fresh off finishing 6th in MVP voting. How do you trade that guy and immediately get better? That is extremely difficult to do. You better get a lot in return. And as of right now, there's not a lot on the table.
So if they decide they can't make a great move here, Vince Goodwill, did Boston damage this relationship to the point of no return, or do you think there's still a way that these two can come together and work together?
Do you think that Jaylen Brown is the type of player that will take disrespect lightly and assume that just throwing money at me is going to fix it? Now, he may take it, but it doesn't mean that it's fixed. I am trying to figure out how the Boston Celtics managed to completely miscalculate this entire thing, right? When you think about you're putting yourself out there for Giannis, all well and good, but they didn't put all their chips to the center of the table like the Miami Heat did. When you do that, you know you are risking blowing up this relationship with this player who has helped you and accomplished so much. Subsequently, you have no clue exactly what you're looking for, what's on the market. Here's the one thing I will say. New ownership in Boston. You have two players in Tatum and Brown who are making nearly 67% of your salary cap. Add in Derek White, 85% of your cap is tied up in 3 players. Derek White did not have a great year. Jason Tatum is coming off an Achilles. Jaylen Brown is having the year he's having. Maybe this is just about cutting salary when you're looking for draft picks and not comparable talent. This is about maybe, just maybe, this could be about cutting salary, recalibrating, but we don't know that because the Celtics have bungled this situation from soup to nuts.
We've spent so much time focusing on the Boston side of the equation. Tim McMahon, let's look at the other side. Who out there should be looking to make a deal for Jaylen Brown?
I mean, listen, the Pistons are trying to position themselves to land a co-star alongside Cade Cunningham. You could talk me into there being some kind of a fit there. The Clippers are about to move on from Kawhi Leonard. Would they want to bring in a star in his prime at that salary? I mean, we can try to figure out fits. Certainly the Celtics are looking for fits. But as of right now, there's not a clear front runner. I can't sit here and be confident and say, I think Jaylen Brown will get traded to this destination.
Wendy, any potential suitors you could see out there for Jaylen Brown?
I think what McMahon said is accurate. I can get a whiteboard out and I can list you a bunch of teams where I can sort of make it make sense, but there's not a natural fit. And really what this came down to is the Bucks preferred a total rebuild of their organization as opposed to swapping out Giannis for Jaylen Brown. And that decision is having a cascading effect that is now given Boston a little bit of a mess.
Anybody out there catch your eye?
The Denver Nuggets, when I look at another generational player in Nikola Jokic, the Nuggets have gone further and further away from championship contention since winning the championship. They got knocked out in the first round by the Minnesota Timberwolves in a series they were favored in, and now Jokic is 2 years away from free agency. Like I said in the first segment, no one hits free agency anymore. You don't want to get to the point where your franchise player feels like there is no hope. So if you're the Nuggets, maybe you throw something out there and you try to figure out something with Jaylen Brown. Because as much as Jaylen Brown may not want to be the quote-unquote number two, or what people thinks that he doesn't want to be the number two, maybe he'll be a perfect number two for Nikola Jokic.
Denver, a perfect example of a team that has to capitalize on the window because it's smaller than we think, and then you start to move in the wrong direction. Let's turn our attention to another superstar who may be on the move, Kawhi Leonard. Wendy, what's the latest with the Clippers superstar?
Yeah, this is lining up. This trade could happen today. I think the Clippers and the Raptors have agreed on player compensation. I think it would be Brandon Ingram, based on what I am told, that would head to Los Angeles. What they've been haggling over is the draft pick compensation. The Raptors have all of their forward first-round picks. They have up to 4 to trade. Naturally, the Clippers are going to want multiple of those. Let's see if they can get this worked out. The key part of this is that the Raptors are willing to offer Leonard an extension, and Leonard is willing to sign in Toronto. Those are 2 big check marks that happen. What's interesting is that despite him coming off a brilliant season, the Clippers, I am told, are not willing to offer Kawhi Leonard an extension right now of any sort. There's not one on the table. He's not rejecting one to go with another, and that is what is forcing this. One other thing I'll say, Joe, the Clippers made a series of moves yesterday. They cleared about $25 million in salary cap space. Ingram for Kawhi Leonard could clear another $10 million in salary cap space. If they wanted to, they could become a free agent player on some level, the Clippers, if they execute this trade. If. It doesn't necessarily guarantee, but that's something to keep an eye on as a fallout if this happens.
Interesting. On the other side, Tim McMahon, the Raptors and Kawhi Leonard, how do you like the fit?
I like it a lot. And look, Scotty Barnes is a great player. If he's your second best player, you've got a chance to do some real damage in the Eastern Conference. And obviously, the Raptors' chances next year, if this trade happens, are going to come down to, in large part, Kawhi's health. They've been in that situation before, did a great job managing him. Obviously, he had a championship run there. But I think you can make an argument that a healthy Kawhi and Scotty Barnes would be as good as any duo in the Eastern Conference, especially, by the way, if that Boston duo is no more.
Boston could be on the descent. Miami on the rise with the addition of Giannis. Where would Kawhi slot Toronto in the Eastern Conference?
Right next to the New York Knicks. We have so many questions about all these other rosters. We have no clue what the Detroit Pistons are doing. Miami does not have a complete roster. Boston looks like they're going to take a step back. Nobody believes in Philly. It looks like there is an opening for Toronto to have at least a complete roster and make themselves a viable destination in the next transaction cycle at the trade deadline. When you have, assuming you have a healthy Kawhi Leonard and Scotty Barnes, that puts you right in the conversation of best two-way teams, and you have in Kawhi one of the best closers in the game in the past 10 years.
It was a great step forward for the Raptors this year, surprising a lot of people. NBA trade deadline, the negotiation window for free agency opening later today at 6 p.m. Eastern. As we transition to what happened yesterday on the pitch,